Who's the essential ad in fantasy baseball and who is it time to cut bait on? I'll answer that in this week's episode of the Rotoworld Fantasy Baseball Ad Drop. My ad for this week is Washington Nationals second baseman Luis Garcia Jr., who's rostered in just 26% of Yahoo leagues. I've covered Luis Garcia in my Sunday waiver wire piece for every single week of the season, actually, but he's still rostered in just 26% of leagues, so I think we need to cover him here as well. The 23-year-old is hitting .337 with 3 home runs, 19 RBIs, and 6 steals in 29 games for the Nationals. He's barreling the ball 10.3% of the time, making more contact in the zone than he ever has before, and taking a more aggressive approach, swinging at more pitches on the fringes of the strike zone, but using the whole field to post career-high line drive rates. We usually don't love seeing hitters expand the zone, but Garcia is not a pure power hitter, and he's always made elite contact. So him expanding the zone to drive pitches the opposite way doesn't really bother me because I don't care about him sacrificing pull-side power as much because he's able to drive the ball into the gaps. He's top 40 in baseball in barrels per plate appearance so far, and his 50% exit velocity of 101.8 miles per hour, which means the average of his 50% hardest hit balls is 101.8 miles an hour. That's 54th in all of baseball. He's now hitting 3rd in the Nationals lineup, and he's taken his game to another level. I know he is listed now with a sore wrist. The Nationals don't seem concerned at all. He might get a day off. He just injured the wrist a little bit on a slide. They don't seem concerned about it. I'm not concerned about it. I think he's being punished because he wasn't great when he first came up with the Nationals, but he's still just 23 years old, and prospect growth is not linear, so it's entirely possible that we're getting that extra level of production from him, and he could end the season as like a 280 hitter with 15 homers and 15 steals, and that's a great middle infield option in almost all league types. My hold for the week is Baltimore Orioles outfielder Colton Cower, who's rostered in 69% of Yahoo leagues. As of Tuesday morning, Cower is the 4th most dropped hitter in Yahoo formats, and I get it. The last 2 weeks have not been good for Cower. He's gone just 5 for 36 at the plate. His strikeout rate and swinging strike rate are both increasing. I also know he doesn't have the longest leash in Baltimore because Heston Kjerstad is up, and they have a lot of other guys waiting in the wings who could take at-bats away from Cower. However, it's important to know that Cowser's still been hitting the ball well despite the cold stretch. He has a 139 batting average over that time, but he actually has a 21.1% barrel rate over those 2 weeks, and he has 4 barrels and 11 hard hit baseballs, despite having just 4 hits. With 11 hard hit baseballs, he should have more than 4 hits, and so we really need to kind of hang our hat on the fact that he's still making really good quality of contact. He's no longer pulling the ball as much, but he's driving the ball to center field almost 50% of the time. So some of his poor batting average may be bad luck, and some of it may just be locations of where he's hitting the ball. And I don't think that's him getting beat. I think it's just a little bit of, the inconsistencies that will happen within the course of a season. He has just 5% soft contact over the last 2 weeks. That means he's not making really any poor contact. He's swinging and missing, or he's making hard hit contact. And yes, he's striking out too much, but he's also walking 14% of the time. And the swinging strike rates and strikeout rates will always be a little bit a part of his game, but he has good top end power and he has good feel for the strike zone. So I'm betting on the quality of contact here. And I think Cower is going to get things sorted out in the near term. My drop for the week is Tigers first baseman Spencer Torkelson, who's also rostered in 69% of Yahoo leagues. This is more for 10 and 12 team leagues. I think you can hold on to Torkelson in deeper formats because obviously the player pool is shallower and we've seen him produce some really consistent power. But I think it's okay to move on from Torkelson if you need a hitter who's producing right now in shallower formats. The reason for that is that pitchers seem to be changing the way they're pitching to Torkelson. He's being pitched up in the zone way more often than last year, and he's also being pitched inside a lot more. He is not responding well to that at this moment. His quality of contact has been awful. He has just a 2% barrel rate and a 24% ideal contact rate. Those are really bottom level metrics. He's hitting more fly balls, but they're not well hit fly balls. His average exit velocity on fly balls and line drives is just 82 miles an hour. That's down 7 miles an hour from last year. That puts him 230th in baseball, right around names like Nico Horner, Bryce Terang, and Kyle Farmer. That is not where you want to be as a power hitter. And exit velocity data has started to stabilize now, so there is some truth in what we're seeing. Part of the issue for me is that Torkelson is hitting more pop-ups. And that tells me that since pitchers are pitching him up in the zone more often, he's not able to get his hands on top of the ball, and so he's popping the ball up. Could he figure that out? Sure, he could. But he's actually starting to get more passive in the zone. His strike zone judgment on pitcher list has gone down. It's now about 20th percentile in all of baseball. That's not good. He's moving down in the Tigers order, and his manager AJ Hinch has actually said that the next move is for Torkelson is to the bench, not further down in the order. That doesn't sound like a manager who has a ton of confidence in his hitter right now. And so, yes, it may bite me because we know Torkelson has 30 homer power, but I'm just not seeing it at all right now. And so in shallower leagues, I'm happy to move on from Spencer Torkelson. And a bonus stash for those of you who hung around this late in the video. My stash for this week is Toronto Blue Jays infielder Arelis Martinez, who's rostered in 18% of Yahoo leagues. I think we're getting pretty close on Martinez getting called up. And so you've seen the roster rate really shoot up over the last week and a half from about like 6% up to that 18% right now. He's hitting 296 and 115 at bats at AAA with 8 home runs and 24 RBIs. What's interesting is that he's cut his strikeout rate a bit from last year and seems to be being more aggressive overall, which works for his power profile. He has 60 grade raw power and pulls the ball over 50% of the time, which enables him to get to that power more often. That's why he hit 30 home runs in 2022 and 28 home runs last year across 2 levels. To do that and also strike out just 22% of the time is a really interesting pairing. He's not going to steal many, if any, bases, but he's making a fair amount of contact at AAA, and he could be a 250 hitter at the next level with this kind of approach. There is going to be a little bit of swing and miss in his game, and he can be a little over aggressive at times. But considering the Blue Jays offense is struggling and they're getting really nothing from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Kevin Biggio at second base and third base, I think it's time for them now to take a shot on Arelis Martinez. And the 22-year-old could be an impact bat when he gets called up. So I think now is the time that we should start stashing him. So as a recap, my ad for this week is National second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. My hold for this week is Baltimore Orioles outfielder Colton Cower. My drop is Detroit Tigers first baseman Spencer Torkelson. And my stash is Toronto Blue Jays infielder Arelis Martinez. I'll check you back next week for more Rotoworld Fantasy Baseball ad drop.